Hi, it's Dave at Stable Vehicle Contracts. Hope you're doing okay. So we are in a Golf R 2 litre TSI 310 brake horsepower manual 5-door hatchback, and we're going to test out the different driving modes. So we're going to do journeys, equal distance, basically the exact same journey in eco mode, normal mode and race mode, and then we'll be able to dissect it, see if there's any difference in the combined MPG, how the car feels, how it drives across those three different modes, and just see if there's much of a difference between them really, because honestly we don't know, so we want to find out. So we're going to be finding out whether the different driving modes on the Golf R, Eco, Normal and Race mode have any effects, or if there's much difference in the fuel economy and driving style between those three modes. So my daily commute is around 30 to 35 miles each way, so around a 70-mile round trip. So we're going to take the Golf R hatchback on 3 commutes with me in 3 different modes, and we're going to find out whether or not there's much of a difference between those 3 different modes, mainly looking for differences in the fuel economy, but hopefully we'll be able to see if there's much of a difference between the ride and the driving style in those 3 modes as well. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on. So let's go. So the first journey we're going to do is going to be in the economy mode, so let's get that changed, and when we get home we'll see what sort of MPG we've got. Let's do that now. So let's switch the modes up, and now we're over in economy. You could definitely, know if you could pick it up on the camera, there was definitely a change in the note and the exhaust engine there when I switched it over to economy mode. So that's the first thing we picked up straight away, just that note dropped. So yeah, I'm gonna get going and we'll see how we get on. So back home from the journey home from work, in economy mode. So a couple of things that I noticed about the economy mode. Firstly, the engine notes were a lot lower. You know, that R raw definitely wasn't there. But in terms of power, you know, when I want to put my foot down to, you know, overtake on the motorway or to get out of a junction, that was still there. So there was no real difference, I didn't feel, you know, in that. The suspension was definitely softer, going around the corners. You could feel it, not like where it was, it didn't feel, you know, it didn't feel good or anything like that. It was just a lot softer than when it's been in race mode. But still, you know, I didn't feel as much of a difference in its actual performance. The big thing was, like I say, the engine notes. You know, you just couldn't. They weren't there, which when you're driving a Golf R, you know, you want to hear that. And also, as you'd expect, you know, the car's prompting me to go up through the gears much quicker than you normally would. So for example, you know, when you're at 20 miles an hour, it's telling you to get yourself into 4th gear, you know, whereas, you know, I wouldn't be anywhere near 4th gear at 20 miles an hour normally. But I've tried to drive the car as I normally would, so I'm not sort of going super slow. I'm just driving it as normal, because we want to try and give a fair reflection on what the MPG is going to be in normal driving conditions. As a driver, is there any point in selecting economy mode? From what I've read, some things I have read and heard, perhaps there isn't. You know, you're not going to be getting massive savings or much better fuel economy by being in economy mode. What's this commute actually got me? What's the return got me on economy mode? So VW say that combined MPG for Golf R should be 37.7 miles per gallon combined. I've actually got on that 32-mile journey 34.6 MPG, so that's pretty good. Let me show you just to prove I am not lying. Let's hope my camera works up to Phil's standard. So you can see there, I'm in economy mode. That little button there, so that's my distance, 32 miles, 55 minutes, an average speed of 35 miles an hour, and an average MPG of 34.6. That's not too shabby. So tomorrow I'm going to be selecting normal drive mode. I'm going to be going back to work, and we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get out of the normal mode. So on day number 2, journey number 2, so we've done economy mode, and now I'm going to switch the car into normal mode, drive to work, same route as that I did coming home yesterday, and we'll see what the difference is in the fuel economy on this leg, and the drive as well. We'll have a little look. So let's switch her over into normal mode. So let's get to work. And we'll see what if there's any difference. I'm not convinced there's going to be, but let's have a go. Okay, so I've just got to work now. So last night I drove home in the economy mode, and as I said, I got a combined MPG of 34.6. So I switched over to normal mode, normal driving mode this morning to come into work. So same route, same distance, traffic conditions very similar, so it was pretty clear. It's a good run. We're trying to keep the driving styles as sort of real world as possible. There's no point, as I said, there's no point driving along at 55 miles an hour on the motorway to try and get, you know, a maximum MPG, because realistically no one's going to do it, and certainly no one's going to do that in a Golf R. So differences between, in terms of the feel and the drive, between economy and normal, none. In all honesty, I didn't feel any real difference between the two. That Golf R engine note, definitely still not there when you're driving it in normal mode, like it is when you're in race mode. In terms of like the actual feel, like I say, the car, I don't see any difference between the two. If there wasn't a little symbol there in the top left hand corner of the media screen telling me I was in normal mode, I would have no idea that I'm driving in normal mode as opposed to economy. I don't feel any real difference between the two. So the question is, what was the average MPG that I achieved on this journey? So I got 34.6 in economy mode, and in normal mode I got 34.3. So ever so slightly less. That could be anything. That could just be down to the fact maybe I sat in a little bit more traffic one time than the other, but there's nothing in that, absolutely nothing in difference between the two. So it's going to be really interesting tonight when I'm going home, what I actually get MPG wise in race mode, because for me, unless it was significantly less being in race mode than in either normal or economy mode, there's no way that I'd be having my Golf R in anything other than race mode, or at least setting it up individually and just playing around with it. I wouldn't be driving around in either the normal or economy mode, and like I say, unless I'm getting a massively better MPG. And let's face it, you're not driving a Golf R for its fuel economy. That's not the reason you've got a Golf R, but you don't want something which is ridiculous on juice. You need to find that happy medium, and let's see what we get with the race mode. So I'm on the final leg of my test to see if there's a huge difference between the three main driving modes in the Golf R: the economy, normal and race mode. So I've done economy. I got a combined MPG of 34.6. Normal gave me a combined MPG of 34.3. So I'm just about to switch her over to race mode, and we'll see if there's much of a drop in that combined MPG. I don't think there will be. I'm going to put that out there. I don't think there's going to be a massive reduction in that combined MPG. So let's see. I know it's going to be a bit more fun. It's going to sound nicer to drive it, I know that for sure. And it's going to feel a bit stiffer in the suspension, better going around the corners. So anyway, let's switch it over, let's get home, and then we'll conclude our test. So I'm gonna need you. So that concludes the final leg of my journey. Firstly, I'll tell you a bit about what I thought about driving in race mode over economy and normal. As I said before, the economy and normal mode, I couldn't tell any difference between the two when I was driving it. They might as well have been exactly the same. Yeah, no difference whatsoever. Race mode, yeah, that was fun. Just the engine sound, just through the cabin of the car, just made it a lot of fun to drive. Now, if you would be able to live with that that sound all the time, I don't know, but that's where the individual settings really kick in, and you can basically mix and match between race comfort and economy mode as you like. So you could turn off that sound and still keep the stiffness of the the dampers in the when it's in race mode. It was difficult. I was trying to keep the driving styles very, very similar, so we could get a fair and accurate result in this little test. And it's quite difficult to do when you're in race mode. I did want to put my foot down a lot when I didn't necessarily have the urge to do that in the economy and normal mode. So it was a bit it was difficult to try and keep it at that fair and even test. But I did it. I managed it, and now I can have a good play with this car now, and really get to know the race mode in a bit more detail. What was the combined MPG when I put it in race mode? So as I said before, economy we got 34.6 MPG combined, and normal 34.3. I didn't think there was going to be a massive difference between a massive drop when you put it in race mode, and I'm pleased to say I am right. We've got a combined MPG of 33.2, which is nothing. So for that, like I say, that extra fun feeling when you're driving, I would definitely live with that little bit of a dip in economy. And it just goes to show, look, if you have a 2-litre petrol engine, 310 brake horsepower like this Golf R, or you have a 1.6 110 brake horsepower diesel engine, ultimately your driving style is going to reflect its economy. So if you thrash either of those cars, you're going to get a pretty naff combined MPG coming back. If you're driving normally and a little bit more sensibly, then you're going to get a pretty a much better economy when you're driving the car. So these settings, are they a bit of a gimmick? I think so. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below if you think they are, if I'm missing something, if I'm completely off target on this one, or if you agree with me. Are these different driving modes in the Golf R a waste of time, a bit of a gimmick, or is there more to it? I think they're a bit of a gimmick, personally, but that's just my opinion. I might change my mind as I drive the car more over the next few days, and probably going to play around with the individual mode a little bit as well. So that's where I might sort of see the benefit in being able to select between the modes, is the actual individual and being able to tailor it. So as always, we hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. See you again soon.